The crime boss was stepping out of his car when something small tapped his hand. Not a gun, not a knife. A crumpled $5 bill. He looked down. A little girl stood in front of him. Hair tangled, shoes split at the toe, both hands trembling as she held the money up like it was everything she owned. "Please," she said quietly. "This is all I have." His men moved instantly. Too close. Too fast. But he raised one hand and they froze. Nobody paid Dante Reyes $5. People paid him in silence. In fear. In favors they'd spend the rest of their lives trying to settle. He crouched down, eye level with her.
What do you want, little one?"
She swallowed hard, forcing the words out. "I want you to help me," she said, because the police already said no. That made him pause. She leaned closer, voice dropping to almost nothing. "They told me if I talked to anyone. My mama wouldn't come home." That's when he noticed it. Bruised knuckles. A torn sleeve. The way her eyes kept darting down the block like something was following her. Dante Reyes slowly took the $5 bill, not because he needed it, but because whatever this little girl was about to say was worth far more than money. "Stay with me until the end." Because what she asked next shocked even a man who thought he'd seen every kind of evil. But first, like this video. Subscribe, and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Now, let's begin. Dante Reyes had controlled the Treem district of New Orleans for 12 years. He'd built his empire quietly, the way water carves stone, not with explosion, but with patience. His territory ran from the French Quarter's shadow all the way to the industrial channel near the bayou. Restaurants, jazz clubs, longshoremen's unions, import warehouses if money moved through the Treem. Dante knew about it. His reputation rested on three things. He kept his word, he kept his territory clean, and he never touched families. That Wednesday evening started like every other. Dante was leaving Maison Reyes, his legitimate front, a Creole restaurant on St. Cloud Avenue, after settling weekly accounts. Protection fees from the shop owners, loan repayments from the gamblers, tribute from the dock workers who moved his merchandise through the port. His black navigator waited at the curb, engine idling, while Ricky and Sal flanked the entrance like stone columns. The neighborhood knew this ritual. When Dante Reyes stepped outside at 8:30, people found somewhere else to be. Vendors packed up their carts. Women called children inside. The wise ones crossed the street before he ever reached the sidewalk. But this little girl didn't cross the street. She didn't run. She walked straight toward him, deliberate, like she'd rehearsed every step with that crumpled bill pressed tight in her tiny fist. Dante had seen desperation before. Grown men on their knees, business owners crying, loan sharks crying louder. Desperation had a grammar he could read in an instant. This was different. This child wasn't falling apart. She was composed in the way only truly frightened people manage to be. The ones who've already decided they have nothing left to lose. Her dress was clean, but faded. Her sneakers had a crack across the left sole, wrapped with a rubber band to keep it together. But her eyes, dark brown and steady, held something Dante had almost forgotten existed. Pure, unbroken hope. "What's your name?" he asked, crouching down to her level. Behind him, Ricky and Sal shifted. Hands moved toward jackets. They'd never seen their boss spend this long on anyone, let alone a kid on a sidewalk. "Mia," she whispered. "Mia Delgado." "How old are you, Mia?" "7. Her voice got softer with each answer, but her feet didn't move. "Almost 8. Dante glanced back at Ricky, who gave the smallest shrug. In their world, children meant complications. Children meant witnesses. Children meant federal attention nobody wanted. The smart play was always to walk away. "Where's your mama, Mia?" That's when the tears came. Not dramatic. Not a performance. Just quiet tears rolling down her cheeks while she fought to keep her voice together. "They took her," she said. 3 days ago. Dante felt something cold settle in his gut. Who took her? Mia glanced over her shoulder, scanning the empty block the way small animals scan open fields. "The bad men. They said Mama owed them money. But we don't have money." We don't have anything. Except this. She held the $5 up again. Dante could see it was soft from folding and unfolding. Her lunch money for a week, maybe longer. It's bad men, Dante said carefully. What did they look like? Big, mean. One had a tattoo of an alligator on his neck. The other one had a gold cross in his ear. She paused. They came in a gray van. No windows in the back. Dante's jaw tightened. He knew exactly who she was describing. The Varela brothers. Cruz and Hector had been creeping into the Treem for 8 months, running extortion on small businesses, moving product through corners Dante had held for a decade. He'd tolerated it as a slow negotiation. Let them feel comfortable before he corrected the situation. But taking someone's mother was a different language entirely. Where's your daddy, Mia? He got sick 2 years ago. She said it plainly, like a child who'd learned to answer this question without breaking. Kidney failure. It's just me and Mama now. It was just me and Mama. Sal stepped forward. Boss, we need to move. People are watching. Dante silenced him without turning around. In 12 years of running the Treem, he'd developed rules that kept him breathing and free. Rule 1. Never get emotional about business. Rule 2. Never trust completely. Rule 3. Never involve children. But looking at Mia Delgado with her cracked shoe and her crumpled $5 and her impossible, heartbreaking hope, something shifted in his chest. Maybe it was his own mother, who'd cleaned offices until 2 a.m. to pay rent after his father was deported. Maybe it was all the nights he'd wished someone, anyone, had stepped in when the world felt too heavy and too large. Mia, he said quietly, what exactly do you want me to do? She took a breath, like she was stepping off a ledge. I want you to bring my mama home. She straightened up before he could respond. I know you're important. I know people are scared of you. But Ms. O'Coffer at the bookshop, she told me, you help people in the neighborhood. She said when men came to make her pay double, you made them leave. She said you protect us. Dante almost smiled. Ms. O'Coffer had been paying him protection for 4 years. Apparently, she'd constructed her own version of events. Mia, this isn't how things work. You can't just walk up to someone like me. But I did, she said simply. And you're still talking to me? He went quiet. She was right any other night. Any other person? He'd have been in the Navigator and 3 blocks away by now. The bad men said. If I went to the police, they'd hurt Mama worse, Mia continued. They said if I told anyone, I'd never see her again. Pause. But they didn't say I couldn't hire someone. Dante stared at a 7-year-old girl who'd just used the word hire like she was sitting across a boardroom. Table, you want to hire? Me, yes, for $5. It's all I have right now. But I can get more. I can do chores. I can sell things. Like a Mia. His voice was gentle. $5 isn't enough for what you're asking. Her face crumpled, and for just a moment she looked exactly like what she was. A terrified 7-year-old whose entire world had collapsed. Please, she whispered. She's all I have. If something happens to her, I'll be alone. And I don't know what to do when I'm alone. Dante looked at that $5 bill, then back at her face. In his line of work, feelings were how you ended up in a casket or a courtroom, but standing on St. Claude Avenue, listening to this child talk about being alone, something cracked open. Tell me exactly what happened 3 nights ago, he said quietly. Mia wiped her eyes and stood up straight. Mama was making red beans and rice. She always makes it on Sundays, because it stretches through the week. Dante nodded. Go on. Someone knocked on the door like they wanted to break it down. Mama looked through the peephole and got scared. Really scared. She told me to hide in the bathroom and put a towel under the door and not come out no matter. What? Her voice got smaller, but I could hear everything. They said my daddy owed them $18,000 before he died. They said Mama had to pay it back or they'd take me instead. Dante's blood dropped 10 degrees. $18,000 was what he spent furnishing a guest room. To a widow working service jobs in New Orleans, it might as well have been $18 million. Mama showed them her phone. Our account. We had $61. That's everything. They laughed. Mia continued, her voice going flat. Said she could work it off. Special work. Dante didn't ask what that meant. He already knew. When she said no, they grabbed her. She screamed at me to stay hidden, to be brave, to find someone who could help. Mia looked up. Said they'd come back in 3 days for an answer. Tonight? Looked at Ricky. Ricky looked at Sal. Nobody spoke. Where have you been the last 3 nights? Dante asked. In our apartment. I know how to make peanut butter sandwiches. We had crackers. I waited for Mama to come home. 7-year-old girl. Alone for 72 hours. Surviving on crackers and determination. Why me? Dante asked. Why not call 911? Child services? Because Ms. Okafor said, you're the only one the bad men are scared of. Mia looked up without flinching. She said when you tell someone to do something, it gets done. And she said you have rules about families. His reputation for protecting families had everything to do with keeping federal investigators off his back and almost nothing to do with noble intentions. But this child had looked through all of that, through the fear and the violence and the carefully constructed mythology, and found something he'd buried so deep he'd forgotten it was there. I'm being asked to do could be very dangerous. Mia, these men aren't just bad. They're cruel. If I help you, people might get hurt. She looked up at him. Will you get hurt? The question landed like something dropped from a great height. When was the last time anyone asked if he'd be okay? I'll be fine, he said softly. But Mia, if I do this, you can never tell anyone. Not teachers. Not friends. Not anyone. Do you understand? She nodded so hard her curls bounced. I swear on my mama's life. Dante stood slowly. At 47, the streets lived in his knees, and his lower back, and the scar along his left ribs. But looking down at Mia Delgado holding her crumpled $5, he felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time. Purpose. Ricky, he said without turning. Call Ghost. Tell him to bring the second convoy around to the rear. Sal radio the crews. Everyone on standby. Full kit. Ricky hesitated. Boss? We talking about going to war over a kid? Dante turned around. Both men stepped back. They'd seen Dante angry before. This was different. This was the face he wore when something mattered beyond money or territory. We're talking about cleaning our own house, he said quietly. The Varellas have been pushing for months. Taking someone's mother crosses every line we have. He looked back at Mia. I need you to be brave one more time. Go to Ms. Okafor's bookshop. Tell her Dante sent you, and you need to stay there until I come back. Don't leave. Don't talk to strangers. Can you do that? Mia's lip trembled. You're really going to help me? Dante knelt one final time and placed his hand gently on her shoulder. Mia, I give you my word. Your mama will be home tonight. The tears came again, but different this time. Relief and hope flooding through 3 days of terror. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet, Dante said, standing. Thank me when you're having breakfast with her tomorrow. Mia started toward the bookshop, then stopped. Mr. Dante. He turned back. What if they come looking for me? Dante smiled, and for the first time in years it was real. Then they'll have to come through me first. Within 20 minutes, Dante's entire network was in motion. By 9:20, 31 men had assembled in the back kitchen of Mason Reyes, ex-military former corrections officers. Specialists who handled problems requiring permanent solutions. Dante stood at the head of a prep table covered with maps and photographs. He placed Mia's description in the center. The Varela brothers have been testing our boundaries for months. Tonight they crossed one that doesn't exist. He looked around the room. A 7-year-old girl came to me tonight with $5 and a prayer. Her mother, a widow, working 2 jobs. $61 in her bank account is being held somewhere in the Bayou Warehouse District. They're running trafficking in our territory. His voice was flat steel. That ends tonight, Ghost, his oldest lieutenant. A quiet man who'd survived 3 wars nobody wrote about spread a map across the table. Intelligence puts the Varellas in the Shinnery Bayou Freight Yard. East End. 3 active containers. Guards are loose, they're not expecting anyone. How many? 10, maybe 12. Armed but comfortable. Good. Dante checked his weapon. A .45 he'd carried for 9 years. Worn smooth at the grip. Comfortable men make mistakes, Ghost continued. 2 ways in. North Service Road, South Water Access. If we move fast, nobody leaves. His phone buzzed. A photo. Alina Delgado, Mia's mother, zip-tied to a folding chair. Inside a shipping container, alive. Eyes wide with terror. The Varellas had sent it. Thinking it would buy them ransom, they were wrong. Teams, we move in 10 minutes. Convoy slid through New Orleans like smoke. 3 dark SUVs using service roads, staying under cameras, moving along routes Dante had memorized over a decade of careful navigation. The Shinnery Freight Yard sat where the city forgot itself. Dead streetlights. Abandoned loading bays. It's a kind of place where sounds dissolved into bayou air before anyone could trace them. Through binoculars. Light leaking from 3 containers. Guards doing lazy patrol loops. The Varellas had gotten very comfortable in the Treem. That comfort was about to become their eulogy. Ghost North Road secured. 4 guards down, silent, were locked. Sal, South Access. Clear, 2 more handled. Nobody's calling anyone. Dante checked his watch. 11:12 p.m. Mia had been waiting nearly 3 hours. All teams go. They move like bayou water, quiet, deliberate, inevitable. The operation took 19 minutes. 12 Varela soldiers were neutralized before any of them reached a radio. 3 escaped into the freight yard's far end, directly into Ghost's team. They found Rosa Alina in the 4th container. Groggy from whatever they'd given her wrists, raw, terrified. But alive. They also found what Dante hadn't anticipated. For other women. Different neighborhoods. Different stories. Same nightmare. Get everyone out, Dante said. Medical care. Safe transport. Full protection. What about the Varela brothers themselves? Container 12. That's their office. That's where we finish this. Cruz Varela was counting money when Dante's team came through the door. Hector was on the phone arranging another pickup. Both men reached for weapons. Neither made it. Dante Reyes, Cruz said, hands rising slowly. We can negotiate. Name your cut. Let me tell you about the woman you took, Dante said calmly. Her name is Elena Delgado. She's a widow. She works at a hotel laundry and a food cart on Bourbon Street. Her husband died from kidney failure 2 years ago. She had $61 in her account when you took her. The brother said nothing. Her 7-year-old daughter walked up to me on St. Claude Avenue and offered me $5 to bring her mother home. $5. Every cent she had in the world. Because you animals took her mother. We didn't know she was connected to. She wasn't, Dante said quietly. That's the point. What happened next took 80 seconds. When it was done, the Varela brothers' operation was permanently, completely closed. Asterisk, the drive back was quiet. Alina Delgado sat in the back seat wrapped in a blanket Ricky had found in the trunk. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes kept moving like she expected everything to dissolve. She whispered. A friend of your daughter's, Dante said. Elena's face crumpled. Oh, Mia, is she's safe? She's at Ms. O'Coffer's bookshop. She's been waiting for you. She did this. She walked up to me with $5 and the most courage I've ever seen in my life. Elena pressed her hand over her mouth and cried the way people cry when the worst thing ends. Ms. O'Coffer's bookshop glowed gold against the dark street Mia had been. Sitting in the children's section for hours, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the door. When it opened at 12:08 a.m. and Elena Delgado walked through it, Mia didn't speak. She just ran. Mama Elena caught her and held on with everything she had. They stayed like that a long time. Both of them crying, neither one letting go. Dante stood near the door. Ms. Okafor had retreated quietly to the back. Ricky looked at the floor. Eventually, Alina looked up at Dante. How do I ever repay this? Dante reached into his jacket and pulled out the crumpled $5 bill. He walked over and pressed it back into Mia's hand. Contracts paid in full, he said. Consider this a no-charge job. Mia looked at the money, then up at him. But I hired you. We had a deal, and you held up your end. Dante crouched down. You gave me something worth more than money tonight, Mia. You reminded me what I'm actually here to protect. Mia folded the $5 carefully and put it in her pocket. Will the bad men come back? No, he said. And there was no version of that sentence that wasn't completely true. They won't. He handed Alina a card. Just a phone number. If anything ever threatens you or Mia again, day or night. No explanation needed. I can't pay you if Mia already paid for a lifetime. As Dante turned to leave, Mia called out one last time. Mr. Dante? He stopped. Are you a good guy or a bad guy? The bookshop was quiet. Somewhere outside, a saxophone floated down from a second-floor window. New Orleans, doing what it always did, making beauty out of late hours and complicated feelings. I'm whatever I need to be, Dante said finally. I gotta be the good guy. It's asterisk. 3 months later, a small envelope arrived at Mazenrea's restaurant. Inside, a drawing in crayon. A woman and a little girl holding hands under a rainbow. A house. A sun with a smiley face at the bottom and careful second-grade handwriting. Thank you, Mr. Dante. You kept your promise. Love, Mia, and Mama. Dante Reyes had no awards on his walls. No plaques. No certificates. But that drawing went up right above his desk. Next to the map of the Treem, because some things are worth more than territory, Mia Delgado grew up safe. She went to college. She became a social worker, the kind who found children in impossible situations and refused to walk away. Every year, on the anniversary of that night, she left an envelope at Mazen Reyes. Always the same thing. A $5 bill. And a note that said, for the next kid who needs help. Dante kept every single one. Because that's the thing about courage. It doesn't matter how big you are. How feared your name is. How many people cross the street to avoid you. Sometimes the bravest person in the room is a 7-year-old girl with $5 and absolutely nowhere else to turn. And sometimes that's exactly what it is. Takes to remind a dangerous man what goodness feels like.